Okay, welcome back. Yesterday, um, I went into a bunch of the changes that I was going to make around the backend data store, moving from Firestore to Postgres, among other things. And yesterday we got a database up and running using just Docker Compose. We then ran some kind of just initial tests against that to make sure that our Postgres module was spinning up, connecting to the database as expected. And so now we can start to get to the real work, the grunt work of just switching over to JDBI for all of our data models. And in order to do that, rather than use the main API surface to do that, I'm actually going to write a bunch of tests. And I am going to use and show you how to use something called TestContainers here, which is a framework to help you manage the lifecycle of Docker containers during your tests. So what does that mean? It means that when you spin up a test, a JUnit test or whatever your framework might be, you can specify one or many containers to run during that test so that you have access to it. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of running like an in-memory database or things like that. That used to be really necessary when running a database was difficult. But now that we have containers and the ability to run databases along with our tests pretty easily, I feel like you might as well just run right against an actual database. So we're going to go ahead and get this set up with JUnit 5, I think. And that way, when our test run, they spin up a fresh Postgres container and then spin down when they're done. So let's go ahead and do that. One other thing I might actually check out, I don't know if Micronaut has any special integration with test containers. My guess would be no. Yeah, I'm going to guess that it doesn't. And in our case, because our module is not trying to pull in a bunch of Micronaut things, I don't actually think this is really going to matter because we're going to kind of manually create our JDBI instance as it is. So this should be fine. So really all we need to do is just make sure that we have JUnit 5 all pulled in correctly. So this is test containers. So let's pull this in to test implementation. Let's also see if we have this in other places. Yes, we do. Engine, micronaut, and that. So we probably want these. And we probably don't need a version on here because we should always just use the latest. I know that that's not necessarily the best thing that you should do, but for tests, I'm totally fine with it because I just always want the latest. Alrighty. So we should have this all together. Now let's source main, source test kotlin, and let's just create a dummy test. Let's just see if we can get this running real quick. So we're going to add the annotation, test containers. We're going to add our annotation for a test. And this is essentially just a sanity test here. All right, so the way that this works is the following. We set up a Postgres container and just drop it in here. So we're going to have a container. This is going to be Postgres. And do they have a... I don't know if they have a... I've never used it this way before. So... yeah, this is the way that I do it typically. Oh, I see what they're doing. Okay. Yeah, let's do this then. Actually, this is kind of interesting. So let's create a function that anyone can use that will return a generic container. The image is going to be docker image name dot parse. Oops. And we want Postgres. What did we use? We used 13.4. With what is this? Doesn't like remote Docker image. What does this return? Docker image. Okay, that should be fine. That's the image. Declaration is type infer platform call, which can lead to unchecked and unspecified. Right. And then this should just take Postgres image. Is there like some Kotlin extensions or something? What am I missing? See, they have a bunch of containers. Okay, maybe I'm missing... something. Postgres module. There we go. We're going to pull that guy in. We're not going to need this. We're probably not going to need that. Postgres container. This will probably take, this is going to take Postgres 13.4. Okay. What is this saying? Not enough information to infer type variable self. What is this self thing? What? It's the type parameter. What in the world? Created a subclass of the container. What? This is wacky. I don't know what the heck is going on here. This is something special. This is going to be Postgres container. Why is this needed? Instantiating recursive generic type. Oh, to construct DSLs. Okay. All right. I get it now. All right. That is fine. Sure. Because everybody's going to use that. This will be default. That can be private. Yeah, okay. All right, so we have a container. And then, so this spins up a container with exposed ports 5432. And then sanity test. Okay. We are going to let's steal some code from SQLite. It's just JDBI create connection string. Okay. So we're gonna basically create a connection string. So this is JDBC colon PG, actually. Essentially this. But this is going to be actually, let's create a extension function on Postgres container dot and call it JDBC URL. This will return a string. And this is going to return the following. So the idea here, right, is this container is kind of like ephemeral. So when it spins up, it's got its own unique port and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to return this $, this dot host, this dot first mapped port, like this, but this also needs to do the following. So this is going to have, so we have to set the same stuff that we did in here, or we ought to, I should say. And we'll need to make this clean so that everybody can do this. Oh, it's probably with env. And then we will do something like this. User DB password. This takes a map of okay. So this we need to create a nice function for fun. So really what I want this to be here. That to there. We're then going to ask our container for the JDBC URL, and then we should be able to use a handle. How did I do this here? Oh no, that's not gonna have the code. It should return nothing. Yeah. think it's here. I always get the order expected and actual, yeah. All right, let's see what happens here. So when this test spins up, it's going to take a moment because it's actually going to spin up a container, or it should. No tests found for given. Why not? I had the wrong annotation. Jupyter. I probably need to do something in my Gradle file. Is this the right assert? No, it's not the right assert. This really drives me nuts. Jupyter, that should be assert. Test. Classes and methods. All right, what other module has tests? I'm pretty sure API service has tests. So what am I doing in here? Yeah, that's what I thought. I need some of this nonsense. There we go. Let's rerun the tests, see if these get picked up. Okay, there we go. So it's getting picked up now. And it spun up a container. Or it should have spun up a container. Actually, if we check... Oops. Nope, that's not what I wanted. I'm going to close that, actually. That may have broke things. Yeah, there you go. Test containers. Postgres, 19 seconds ago. So there is Postgres container running. And if we do the following, see there, now it gave me the URL of that container that it just spun up, right? It's on a random port, so it doesn't conflict with anything. Even though 5432 is exposed internally. And now my test will run. Although my test will fail. No suitable driver found. Right. Okay. That is because the driver is up here. And we need it now as part of test runtime only. Well, not only. Yeah, test. Yeah, test runtime only. Oh, I'm going to have to... Well, this is going to fail, but... I didn't redo my Gradle, so let's run that again after. Nope. Still nothing. Server required password. No password was provided. Right. Right. So this needs to have a username and password. And the way to do that is put it in the URL. JDBC server name. Postgres has good docs for this. Right. Okay. This probably takes, yeah, properties, username and password. So this is essentially ExDividend insecure password. Nope. Authentication failed for user ExDividend. Postgres user ExDividend. Postgres database that and password. Okie dokie. Postgres password, Postgres user, Postgres user. Okay. So this should pass the environment in. Why doesn't it like that? I actually kind of prefer this syntax because it's like the builder syntax, so we'll just try to do this, but I don't think this is going to change anything. This shouldn't change anything, so clearly this environment is not working. Password authentication is not. Okay, so let's. Hmm. What could we be missing? Unless there's something on here. Oh, there's a get JDBC URL already on here. Cool. So I don't need this. Actually, yeah, I shouldn't set. I'll set the database. I'll set the database, but maybe I'll just use whatever username and password it gives. So let's take a look at what is there. JDBC URL is this. Username is test. Okay, so this is not working. Okay, so they have like special functions for this. Right. The other thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to make this random as well. Because in the future, if I want to be able to run these tests in parallel, I don't want things to clash, but this should work now. Hopefully. Expected was 1, but actual was -1. Okay, so what does select 1 do? Actually, let's do something a little more fancy. Let's see what comes back from here. Result is -1. Okay. Right. Yeah. This is an execute. We need to do a select. And then result will give back a query. And we're going to execute this. Result producer. I don't use this raw. Well, hang on. Yeah, let's go to the JDBI docs. Handle, create query. Queries. Create query. Map it to a map. And then we're going to check that the username is test. Yeah. PID's going to be random, so we'll just check that it's there, but test should be... Oh, okay, so result is... Wait, didn't I map to map? Yeah. Yeah, result.first PID and username. Oh, username is null. Okay, so let's just say assert not null PID. First is PID. We'll map this to an int. Assert not null result. And again, we want Jupiter. Okay, so there we go. TestContainers spins up a Postgres container, and we have a sanity test that just runs and does exactly what we expect it to. All right, so now we are kind of off to the races here. We can start to actually test what we have created. So let's do this. All right, so the first is going to be the sign in with Apple, that auth table that we have. And this is also going to have test containers. All right, so how do we make this kind of nice and clean? We're always going to add this when we want it. And then we're going to add test. We're going to say insert CY user. And this syntax here is really nice in Kotlin when you write your tests, because you can actually kind of like write out, you know, in plain English what the test name is rather than having some weird function name. So that's a neat little trick that I really like with Kotlin. Okay, so this is going to, we should make this an extension function. That's what we need to do. So PostgreScontainer.jdbi. And I like to do this rather than creating a base class or something like that, just because I prefer kind of composition over inheritance in most cases, and this extra line really doesn't bug me. So this just makes a lot more sense to me. So we can now just say postgres.jdbi, and we can then say, so right now we only have get, so let's actually create an insert, right? SQL update, insert into CWA values, ID, email, private email, and this is the nice auto completion that you get from IntelliJ. ID, email, and private underscore email. 1 second, I got a phone call. What's going on? Yeah. Yeah, just get a little extra, please. Yeah. Okay. Bye. Okay. Values, ID, email, private email, SQL update, insert user. This. Oh. Sure. And a lot of people may also wonder too, like, why write this stuff when like Spring or Juke or one of those things can like auto-generate all this stuff? And I get that it can, but as you'll see when we get further along, that to me starts to work against you when you want to know what the heck is going on with the query. So, you know, right now this stuff doesn't really bug me, and it's usually pretty quick. We'll be able to get through these pretty fast. All right, so we've got inserts. So now we can insert. Oh, it's not in the service. So let's expose it. Create user. And also notice that in the context of like JDBI, I use like SQL syntax, so like insert or, you know, this usually I like to be select, right? So it kind of like you're switching domains from, you know, normal business level domain to whatever. And then at the higher level, right, the service level, I use, you know, get, create, you know, that type of stuff. So email string is private email boolean, and this will return a CWA user. This probably shouldn't return this user, but we'll work on that. On demand. ID email is private email. And this is going to be UID from string. And this is going to be returning a PostgreSQL user ID email and is private email. Okay. So now we can create a user, a random we want to save this UUID because we need to assert it later. ID email is private email boolean. To string results. Jupyter. Okay, so the ID is going to be the ID subject and there's no to UUID, which also drives me crazy, but that's fine. And this is going to be false. Result dot write email test. Okay. Let's see if this works. Should be good. Nope. What did I miss? Extension not found. Oh, it's probably because yes, we need to run our customizer. We need this class to run. So this function and again, this is another reason why I prefer this composition is because now when I want to actually do this, I can just say customize JDBI. Oh, I got the wrong class. There you go. I can then just say this. It'll run everything that we normally do as part of our tests. It'll run our configuration right that we set as part of our tests. And it's basically runs the exact same as how the app works or the API works. Still nothing. No extension found. Table. The migrations aren't running. Well, no such what does this mean? An extension of unknown type is created. What? Can I see all of the extensions? Okie dokie. What? Arguments, collectors, statements, collectors. Plugins is 0. Install all of the plugins. You shouldn't have to do that. Annotated with SQL up, it should return void boolean or number. Oh, yes. Okay, so now we're making progress. This should return int. I'm pretty sure we can have this return the actual values or the actual return types. I'm pretty sure Postgres supports that, but let's see what does not exist. Yeah, okay, so now the migrations haven't run. So this makes sense. So now we need to make it so that the actual migrations work on the actual database table as part of the test. No. Flyway test containers. They have integration, so this should be pretty straightforward. JDBC, yeah, TC instead of that. Right. Okay, so we might need to do a base class, which I was hoping to avoid, but this should be pretty straightforward. Okay, PostgreSQL test. And all right, this is fine. So with migrations. We're going to have a at before all. Fun. We're going to migrate the database before all. And classic configuration. Config.set data source. Right. All right. This is going to be you. Oh, this doesn't support named arguments. Oh, okay. Yeah. So this will be. This is going to be a part of this. This will be there. This will be public. What? Oh, right. Okay. Set data source. All right, so this will be, yeah, this doesn't have to be public. That's what I thought. I was confused. Postgres.jdbc URL, Postgres.username, Postgres.password. Okay. And then set locations. I shouldn't have to do this. Flyway config.migrate. Okay, so then our test needs to come from this. We can then get rid of this. Yep, that needs an invocation. All right, so now this should migrate our database before basically the test suite running. Nope, didn't like that. Must be static unless class is annotated with, yeah. Test instance, lifecycle per class. So this is just telling this thing to run the lifecycle methods like once per class. Mapped port can only be contained after the container is created. Okay, so we need to start it as well. Nope. Yeah, it actually did work. Okay, so I've got a bit of a typo here. Okay, tests are passing with our migrations. And yeah, okay, we are all good. Now, the one thing to be aware of though is that if I insert, so the database is not necessarily clean between test runs. So the user that is in the database is still there. So some would argue that your tests should be fully isolated. I tend to agree with that. So we also need to before each clean the database, which isn't always easy. How do I want to do this? Clean. Yeah. I'm actually going to make this before each. So I'm going to basically migrate and drop the table every time. I'm going to make this internal here. So I am going to basically clean the database before I'm going to migrate the database before and do this after every time. Yeah. Okay. If I get, so I just should create, and then my user should be from here, like this. Meaning that the user that I create would be the same. So this will be insert. Actually, no, if I leave that there, that's probably best. Okay. What's going on here? But was a bunch of extra junk on the end of it or something? Yeah, that's weird. Why does it do that? There's a bunch of extra stuff on the end of the get. Why? Weird. Okay, so this is why you write tests. Something is wrong here. Oh, I know what it is. My migrations just specify char. Varchar. So this is essentially 128 characters. Right. This needs to be varchar. This is why you write tests, folks. There we go. Okay. All right. So we have our little test framework, test harness set up for our database tests. We can insert and get back users. And we just found basically a little bug or a problem, which is our test founds, which is essentially that when we insert the user, we're not returning the user that we got back from the database. So when I had my table definition wrong, right, it was returning something different. So this is bad. And I believe that that JDBI supports returning the results. It has get generated keys. Oh, this is another nice thing too. I should fix this. We shouldn't need this customizer. Customizations. We shouldn't need this row mapper. Yeah, I'm gonna delete this because we should be able to register, and I just forgot about this. We should be able to register bean mapper on here. Yep. But now I thought that you could return values. Can I return? Yeah, you can do returning these three things. Okay. So this is another reason why I like seeing what's going on here. But this is going to return ID, email. Wait, but this doesn't support that. I don't remember what JDBI does with this. Returning. The one true database supports additional functionality when returning generated keys. See Postgres for more details. Yeah. Oh yeah, this supports this. You can return the entire modified row if you request get generated keys, right? At get generated keys, then this can return the user itself. And then we don't have to do this nonsense. We can just return that, right? Type mismatch. Yes. Yeah, this will fail. But now this will actually return the actual user that was inserted. No, it won't. Matched columns. All right, it's not picking up our bean mapper. Should be able to fix that. Use register bean mapper to register bean mapper class. Then what the hell is a row mapper? Row mapper's registry. Row mapper factory. Respect qualifiers on getters, setters. Okay. So why not make this a bean mapper? implement members. No, I do want row mapper. I don't want bean mapper because this is reflective. Is there a register row mapper? Yeah, there we go. That worked. Okay, cool. So that's cleaned up. We don't have to do our customizer anymore. And we're getting our results back. Now, one thing that we can test, right, is if we go back here and we just make this char, our test should fail. And our insert test will fail this time because it's actually returning the values that came back from the database, right? So now you'll see this test fails because it's actually using the return values from the database and it all comes back in one query, right? So again, this is one of those like little benefits that you get of knowing the query that's being run and being kind of relatively close to the SQL. So cool. That is what I wanted to get to today. Yeah, this is working pretty well. Let me just do one quick thing here. I will run all of our tests from the command line again to make sure we didn't break something else. We shouldn't have. I have a bunch of tests in other modules, but I just want to see and make sure this runs from the command line so that okay, so those are passing, but what was this standard error? Oh, I need a log back. Source main resources. We should probably have this in here as well. I don't need a fancy encoder. This one is just fine. Okay, the test passed. I'm gonna run this again. I don't like seeing like that log back or the SLF4J logging. Yeah, I don't want to see this. Defaulting to no op C. I have to add something here to failed to load class static logger binder. Well, it's not that I want no op, it's just that I want very basic SLF4J. Yeah, I just want simple, so I don't need logback. But I do need just basic basic SLF4J. So that's what it's got to be org.slf4j, and then it's SLF4J-API or simple. Simple, I think, right? I think it's just simple. Yeah, there we go. So, okay, so now there's no crap in our logs. But now that throws other crap in there. Maybe I really just do want the no op. Do I just need API? So I'm trying to get all this SLF4J crap out of here. And sometime, I haven't done this in a while, but we basically just want to get rid of it. Yeah, but see in here, PostgreSQL test. Oh, you know what? I can just add this as test implementation. That should get rid of it. Because I have it elsewhere. So I should be fine. Yeah, this should be good. No junk. Yeah, no log junk. Okay, cool. Alrighty. We made some good progress. It's probably about all I'll do right now. But yeah, test containers, pretty cool if you've never used them. Again, they provide a way for you to run real containers as part of your tests, so you don't have to test against, mocks or stubs or whatever like that. You can use this for Postgres, for Redis. We'll use it for a bunch of things in the future. So this is good. And now, again, right now it just comes the work of translating a bunch of these things and getting rid of these one by one and replacing them with a Postgres implementation. The thing that we did today was pretty simple and basic, but the real work is going to start when we get into the actual stock data itself. And you'll see some of the API decisions that I made on the Firestore services and implementations were a little weird. And we're going to get rid of those and then also push some work that we were kind of doing manually in code at the application level, push that down to the database. So there's some calculations that we can have the database do and things like that. So that's, again, more of the reason why I'm moving to Postgres, right, is to push stuff from the application layer down into the database layer, which is always nice. So that's it for today. Let me know if you have any questions. Again, we covered Postgres, test containers, a little bit of JUnit 5, right? And we're well on our way. So we should be able to start to make a lot of progress and then get the app back and running on the Postgres database, and then move to the web, start actually building out the product on the web, which will be great. So that's it. Let me know if you got any questions.